Welcome to the Pay Yourself First podcast. My name is Chris Jolly, and I'm on a mission to financially empower millions of entrepreneurs. I want you to make and keep more money so that you can begin implementing and turbocharging a plan for creating financial freedom your way during the life cycle of your current business without spending a ton of time or becoming a professional investor. You see, most of the financial teachings out there are made for employees, not entrepreneurs. If you wouldn't listen to someone who doesn't have kids about parenting, why take business financial advice from someone without a business? Are you ready to break free of bad advice and follow the trail of other uncommon entrepreneurs so you can get from where you are now to the lifestyle you were aiming to create when you started your business? Then stick around. Here comes another episode of Pay Yourself First, where the only investment we offer is the one you make in yourself. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited to be with you here yet again. We have another amazing entrepreneur on today. His name is Brandon Gano. He's calling in from North Carolina, and his business is called Whadif, Whadif, and he provides business consulting to businesses who are looking to simplify and scale. Brandon, how the heck are you today?
I am fantastic, Chris. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have you on. I know it's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm sure you're going to deliver a lot of value to the audience. So yeah, it's going to be great. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Tell me a little bit more about your business, how you serve people, and how you got into it.
Yeah, I can promise fun. Let's see if the value part comes through. I hope so, but we're definitely going to have a good time.
Fun is valuable.
Fun is valuable. That's right. No, so I've been in business for myself for a long time, almost a decade at this point. And I had a company that I ended up selling in the middle of last year, towards the end of last year, actually. And what realized I was chasing was giving back to other people the gift of business ownership, not business operatorship. And there's a distinct difference between the two. So that was my path. I went from working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, being a slave and being chained to my business, could not break away, to finally figuring out what I was doing wrong and fixing it, and then working 3 to 5 hours a week while my company was growing itself. So I was like, this is cool. More people need this. This is why we all get in business. Let's give this to other people. That business ended up being too pigeonholed, too narrow for me. So I just separated myself from it. I sold it. I met my business partner now in Whadif. His name is Sean. And we just hit it off. We had a passion for small businesses. He has this really unique and proprietary formula. It's a business model, really, that we use and we install in our clients' companies. And it helps you scale further, faster, and simpler, really. So we absolutely love what we're doing here, and it's a really exciting journey.
Amazing. And I want to dive more into that. I do want to go back real quickly and touch on one thing you said. Can you explain to some people who maybe don't know the difference, as you're saying, between ownership and operatorship? Because I think for a lot of people who are butting their heads up against the wall and doing the 50, 60 hours a week plus right now, the idea that they could only work 3 to 5 hours and still get everything done and still grow their business sounds like an impossible dream.
Yeah, it's a foreign concept, right? And
Yeah.
we all start our businesses for freedom, right? It's like you're either in a job, you're working a W-2 job, and you're working for somebody else, and you're like, I want freedom. I want to be my own boss. And then you start a business and you're like, what did I do? I have no freedom. So I'll answer your question with a set of questions, actually. And this is how, when we're working with a new client or a prospective client, this is how we identify where they're at now. And this, to me, really illustrates the difference between the two. So what we ask is, it's a series of questions. It starts with, if you were to have zero contact with your business, no text, no emails, no phone calls, nothing, how long would your business go before you didn't see a decline in revenue and profit? We start at 2 hours. You set the bar real low. Could you make it 2 hours? Most people can. Then we'll scale it up. 1 day. Could you go 3 days, 5 days? That's a normal week-long vacation, right?
Yep.
Most people can get between 3 and 5 days. Then we'll go 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. And we stretch that all the way out to 3 years. I've never met anybody that comes to us in the beginning and can get to that 3-year mark. But really, freedom and business ownership is anywhere between 3 and 6 months is where that starts to happen. That may seem extreme for some people, and that may seem really far off, but that's really what a business owner is when you're not involved in the delivery of the product or service, and you can step away and the business can grow itself. That's when you know you are a true business owner.
Yeah, I can feel a lot of entrepreneurs just getting nervous hearing that conversation. What do you mean a week? What do you mean 3 weeks? A month? I can't take a month off of my business. Everything will go to hell. And
Yeah,
and that's such a great point. And obviously at the beginning, nobody's at that point. It's something that you work towards. But if you're not
right.
working towards that point, you haven't really given yourself, like you said, a business to own. You've given yourself a business to run and basically just hired yourself as a general manager or what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do those conversations on Zoom or on video calls. And sometimes I'll look away while I'm asking the questions because I don't want to see the facial reactions. But you're right, they're all the same, and it's a journey. Don't hear me say you're not a business owner if you don't own a business or if you can't walk away for 3 months. No, it is a journey. I'm just telling you where you should be looking and what you should be going after, and make progress day by day. There's things you can do, SOPs, hiring people, like little tiny things. We're not changing the world here. You'll get there. Just
Yeah.
focus on it.
Awesome. Okay, now tell me a little bit about Whadif. I know we were talking before the interview, and you were telling me originally you were just doing this generalized business consulting, and then as you've been working with clients, you've found a better approach and something more specific. Can you key us in as to what that's like?
Yeah, so our model is the same. Our business model that we teach and we install on our clients, like I mentioned, none of that has changed. It's an acronym, it's the word harmonious, and it's the 10 fundamental business disciplines that every business, no matter industry, size, scale, whatever, has at play and is in place, whether you recognize it or not. It comes from my business partner. He consulted with the Fortune 100 for 25 years. So he's seen the biggest and the smallest companies and everything in between. What we teach has never changed, and it's foundational, and it changes people's lives when they see the simplicity of it. The way we went about it is really, to me, where the lesson comes from. And it's always interesting. It's the old saying that the cobbler's kids have the worst shoes, or I'm obviously butchering the saying. So that was us. We can help you grow your business in 3 seconds. Can we get our own marketing message? No, it's going to take us 3 months to do that. So what the journey we came on was, what we were selling in the beginning was just ongoing business consulting. And most small business owners and entrepreneurs, and I was in this boat a couple of years ago, but why do I need consulting? Why do I need coaching? This is my business. Why would somebody else tell me how to run my business? And obviously that's not really what we were doing, but the format we landed on and we were exploring was, what if we could guarantee an absolute result in a short period of time for a fair price, or you don't pay? As long as both sides do what we agree to do, if you don't get the result, you don't pay. So that's exactly what we did. We said, we're going to do 90-day sprints. We're going to solve the two most common problems people come to us with, because we have it down to a science using our formula. And if we don't solve those problems in 90 days, we fully refund you. There's no questions asked, no harm done either way. If you do get the result, your ROI is going to be more than what you spend on and invest with us anyway. And that has been received so well. I can't even tell you the difference in like literally 3 weeks. The shift that has made in our business is insane.
I'm sure it is because a lot of people, especially when it comes to coaching and consulting, I think have been burned because you have
Yeah.
people who either don't know what they're doing or they have a one size fits all approach, and then you just have to make it work and fit your square peg into the round hole. And then you look and you're like, oh God, I spent $10,000 on that. I didn't get a return. Coaching's a waste of time. Consulting's a waste of money. And then they get turned off and they never do it again. But when you can give them that guarantee, it's a win with no lose, right? Because worst case scenario, I spent the 90 days and I probably learned something, even if I didn't get a return, and then I get my money back. And like you said, the better part is they get the outcome and then they make way more money than what they spent with you, which is what everybody wants.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we found too. So the single focused coach and consultant, there's other business models out there. EOS, the book Traction, is a famous one. And what they all do is they have templated systems and all these things. They really require you to do more work, which none of us want to do. We're already overworked. We mentioned that. So when we come in, our architecture has been used at literally a dozen Fortune 100 companies, all the way down to solopreneurs and startups. So it's not like it doesn't work. And the whole point of it, we call ourselves the lazy consultants. We want you doing as little as possible, because that's how it's going to be fun. And that's how you're going to get out of your business in those 90 days. People they hear us talk about it, they're like, get it. Like, I do less work and I make more. How is that possible? Just trust me, please. And if you don't trust me, I'll give you your money back. That's fine. But Yeah, it's a different set of challenges in communicating it now. It's no, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, I know that for a lot of entrepreneurs, that can be a challenge just because we have this identity as a business owner that it's lots of work, it's grind all the time, and we have to be doing it 60, 70 hours a week to make it work and to make money. And that's how you get burnt out, and that's how you start
Yep.
hating things you love and wanting to quit and stuff like that. Now, Brandon, you mentioned that when people come to you, they have two main problems they're trying to solve. What are those problems?
Yeah, they're always boiled down to two paths. So it's the first one is what we're already dancing around here is the time freedom. It's I'm working 60, 70 hours. I'm either burned out or on the verge of burnout very soon, and I need to fix it. So it would be some sort of time freedom, which is, again, ironically, why we start our businesses. And we work ourselves into this loop, which is so backwards. The second one will manifest in a number of different ways, but the root cause is operational bottlenecks. So we call ourselves fractional COOs. That's what we do at these bigger companies and even in smaller companies. As COOs, we're pretty well versed on operations. So when someone comes to us and says, we need more leads, they think it's a marketing or a sales problem, or we're not converting our leads well. Or a really common one is we need more leads because our customers are leaving us in 3, 4, 5 months. You just have an operational problem that's misdiagnosed as something else. So a lot of people will come to us and say, I need help like 2, 3xing my leads or my sales. And I'm like, pause, because if we just look over there, there might be a different problem, a real root cause, and it's about putting band-aids on problems versus actually fixing them. So it's time freedom and it's some sort of operational bottleneck that's causing a different problem.
Okay, makes sense. So I come to you with those problems. We've got 90 days to fix it. What is that process like, that sprint? What are we going to do in those 3 months?
Yes, and this is the part where I'm going to give you an answer that you may or may not want to hear, but I just threw rocks at the people with templates and one size fits all business models. So I don't fully know, but what I'll say is so in this architecture, the harmonious architecture, every letter is a discipline. And there are a series of disciplines that we need to look at in a specific order first. So on both sprints, whether we're tackling time freedom or operations, we need to look at your navigation. And for us, navigation is it's traditionally called strategic planning, and that just sounds super boring. That's
Yeah.
why we don't call it that. But it's the way we do navigation is at its core mission, vision, and core values of your company. Once you have those three things and they're ingrained in your company, which is a whole big process in and of itself. But once you know that, you know who you are as a company, who you are as a leader, and also who you serve. We don't put your ideal client in marketing. We actually put it in your company's navigation. Once you have that down, then we can move on to phase two, which would be a little bit different in either of them. But the moral of the story is we're going to pick three core projects that we're working on for the 90 days. So these are the things that are going to give us the smallest input. It's the 80/20 rule with the maximum output. So, what are those things in your company that you're already doing that get you massive results, but you maybe don't focus on them enough, or you don't even know that they're getting that big of a result for the amount of input? And then the final step or the final phase would be for the time freedom we call serenity, where we're making sure your calendar is clear of distractions. So you're only doing those three projects. That's all you're working on. And you're saying no or not yet to everything else. For the operational side of things, then we touch the discipline called order, which is really your value chain summed up simply. And it's how you deliver what you promise to your customers. Like I said, there's some sort of a bottleneck if you have operational issues. So we need to flesh those out, make sure your systems and your business processes in order. And then we can really make sure everything else is in line. So it's a common path, but it's going to be very specific to your company because if you and me run the same company, we'll use a plumbing company for example. If we both run plumbing companies, I may want the customer to have the greatest experience ever, and you may want the customer to have cleanest toilets ever. We want two different outcomes. So the
Yeah.
way we need to solve problems are from two different approaches. So we do need to take those things into account, but it's two generic paths in the framework customized to your company.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because when I work with clients, it's the same kind of thing. When you're working towards financial freedom, there are a number of systems that kind of anybody can do, right? You can do single family homes, you can max out your like all these different things that you can do to build financial freedom, but not everybody has the same risk tolerance. Not everybody is interested in the same assets. Not everybody wants to follow the markets, like all that kind of stuff. You need this kind of general path, but then you also, it helps to be able to give people that individual guidance. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. Now, I know since I'm wondering, other people are wondering too. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you tell me all of the 10 disciplines that make up the acronym Harmonious?
Yes. So it's the word harmonious is not the order we tackle them in,
Okay.
but it's the only 10-letter word that makes sense and is fun. So this is not the order we would tackle them in, but H is for home, which is another acronym. It's humans optimized in a meaningful environment. Typically, that would be HR, would be the common way to think about it. But when you make that distinction between it's two parts, humans optimized, so you have people showing up in their peak state and meaningful environment. So you have to create meaning in their job, in their role, and in their lives. It starts to tweak the way you look at HR. So that's the H. I won't go super in depth to all of these, but that's the H. I have to, how do you spell harmonious? First of all, I'm not qualified to use any 10-letter word. So let's put that out there. And while we're doing that, I'm going to just type out harmonious over here so I can spell it.
Be careful because the first four letters spell harm.
Yes, and harm is exactly what we've done by using a 10-letter word with me in charge of it. All right, so all jokes aside, I know how to help your business. I don't know how to spell transparency. The A is for analyze. So this would be your metrics. Oh, and the other thing I should say about this whole acronym is we have these traditional terms in business in corporate America, but they're boring and small businesses don't know how to use them. So we said, what is the essence of what these are trying to achieve? And then we've renamed them. So we're doing the same thing. We just made it simpler and more achievable for small businesses. So we have
Gotcha.
home for HR, we have analyze for your metrics. Then we have R for, which stands for RAD, risk assessment and defense. This would traditionally be your legal. So things like trademark. We actually put finance a little bit under RAD, a little bit under analyze. It touches multiple disciplines. The M is for modify. So that would be change management, how you go about bringing about change in your organization. The first O, it's your business operating model, your value chain. The N is navigation, definitely touched on that. I is inspire, that would be leadership. The job of a leader is not necessarily to lead, but it's to inspire the organization to follow them or to chase the mission, really. So leadership and or inspire and navigate are very closely tied together. The second O is operate. So those are the projects your company's working on. Again, we mentioned that. The U stands for ubiquity, which for us, we put sales and marketing as one discipline. They are the same thing. One leads to the other, and without one, you don't have the other. So but it's not being all things to all people in all places. And that sometimes gets confused with the word ubiquity. It's being everything to your one ideal customer everywhere they expect to find you. So it's very narrowly focused on who you serve and where you find them. And then, of course, serenity, which I mentioned before, is controlling your calendar, not letting your calendar control you. And it would be traditionally called time management. So thank you for the spelling lesson there. I appreciate you putting me on the spot. But
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. And everybody who's listening, I will neither make you spell harmonious nor will I pop quiz you on what all 10 letters stand for. But thank you for going through that. Now, I do want to ask you some more direct questions about the business and the finance. And one thing I always like to find out is before you got into business, what was your knowledge of finance? Because I know for me personally, and I think most people, we don't really learn much in school. And so unless like you learn from family or friends, or you are in a position where like they're teaching you because you're learning how to run a business or something, most people don't get that. So what was that like for you?
yeah, big pet peeve of mine because I went through high school. You would think you would learn something about it. College, I went for a business degree, and the only finance, quote unquote, that I learned was some accounting class that I still have no idea what was being talked about. So that to me, when someone talks about finances or accounting, I'm always like, that is a bookkeeper or an accountant's job because I'm gonna mess something up. As a matter of fact, when I hired my first accountant and bookkeeper for my last company, I specifically said to her, I was like, your job is to keep me out of jail because I have no idea what this is. Does that give you a sense of how I feel about finances?
Yeah.
But no, back to my childhood, it was like a taboo topic and it was never really spoken about in my home. My parents always just like it was hushed about the finances. My dad actually ran his own business when I was in high school, and even then it was hidden. So when I got into business, I had to learn for myself what I needed to run the business and make sure it was there and existing, because an accountant really doesn't do that, which is a surprise for most people, but and it was for me too. So it was confusing. And then what I boiled it down to was, as long as you have more money than you owe, you're in good shape. And that is the worst financial principle ever. So
Yeah.
please don't take anything else from this episode but that. But yeah, that's how messed up my view of finances were.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's where a lot of people are at. And I know for myself, I started I guess my first official legal business. I did all kinds of entrepreneurial stuff when I was younger at the age of 27. And if I knew now what I knew then about finance, I'd probably still have that business and I'd probably have made millions of dollars doing it. But I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about cash flow and it screwed me in the end. And that's where I think a lot of entrepreneurs are, because you start a business normally not because you're like, you know what, I know how to do finance, I'm going to start a business. It's because you love to do something or you want to help people or you're good at something. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have to figure out what to do with this money, where to put it, how to keep it coming in. And if you don't have that, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Aside from coming to business without a lot of financial challenge, what would you say your biggest financial challenge in the business you're in now is?
In this business, it's startup phase. We've only been in this for, we've been working together for over a year and a half or so, but we really didn't launch until, I don't want to put dates on it, so I'll just say 6 or 7 months ago. So yeah, it's finding the right clients, and I talked you through that process, was figuring out our marketing message and identifying who our ideal client was and how we can help them. So that took that took a pretty good amount of time, and then it was just the last couple of months where things started to really get going, and we identified that message. We had great success with all of our clients who we've served from the beginning. We haven't lost any clients, which is really exciting and very encouraging. But now that we're able to communicate with people more effectively and say, no, this is exactly what you get when you work with us. This is how we know we will achieve it. This is the problem you are likely suffering from. That's really where we're at now. So it's all the challenges associated with startup. Running a lean team, it's the two of us plus some VAs part-time and doing things as efficiently as possible, which is, I've been through this before with my last company. So I see both sides of it. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners are either in that position or desire to be in that position. There's fun in all stages. You just have to understand that nothing is forever and nothing is so big of a challenge you can't get past it. This is just the phase I like the least, we'll say.
Yeah, I think that's the way for a lot of entrepreneurs. And it also brings to mind to me why it's so important to have that minimum viable product. Because I have definitely started businesses where the first thing I did was like went out and spent $2,000 on a website,
Been
or
there.
went out and hired a graphic designer to make a logo and all of this stuff. And yeah, when you look at a big corporation, you see that, but you don't see that's not where they started, right? Like until you have people to go to your website, what is the point in spending all that money on a website? Until you've actually helped people and found out that what you do is viable, spend as little money as you can, because a lot of businesses flop. You find out it's not the right thing, there's not a market for it, whatever the case. And the less money you can put into the startup up front, the more leeway you have to pivot or do something else, or just not sink your entire life savings into something that doesn't work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Now, I want to talk a little bit, and this is probably my favorite question to ask, what financial freedom looks like to you? Because I know a lot of people, you say financial freedom and they think, oh, it's mansions and Lambos or buying your own private jet or whatever they see on TV and is pushed on us. But then you drill down, and that's not actually what most people want out of life. So for you, let's say you get to that point where you do have the time freedom in your business. You can not show up for the 3 months if you don't want, and know that all the money is going to be coming in. You've taken care of all your expenses. You have extra to live the lifestyle you want. What does that look like for you, Brandon?
That's a great question. I don't know how you feel about it, but the Lambos, we call those the marketing bros, and it's not for me. I'll say this though, a decade ago, that probably would have been my answer because I didn't know any better. But no, I've definitely been on a journey over the years to figure out what's important. And you touched on something really important, which was, it's a math equation. And we talk about this with our clients too. If you have money with no time, you don't have freedom. If you have time with no money, you still don't have freedom. They multiply by each other. So you need both money and time. And that's why we focus where we do. But that's how you get true freedom. So it's not just I'll just make more money and then I'll have freedom. That's an important distinction to realize. Like, you need both. You need a sustainable business, you need sustainable income, and then you can have freedom. So for me to answer that question, I've been doing a lot of I've been doing a lot of thinking about this recently because I sacrifice time to make money. And if I could go back in my last business, and if I could go back and redo that and really learn, or at least learn the lesson, which I've done, is just being present with my family and doing things together. Like, it's so simple. If we could just go on a vacation together and be present and not have to look at my phone, that's when you really look at life as a whole. What does a Lambo do for you? Nothing. You can't even go that fast. There's speed limits. So you're gonna drive with fear that you're gonna be pulled over. Maybe if you want to rent one and go on a racetrack, like, that's cool. That's a cool experience. But
Yeah.
when you boil life down, it's the experiences that you do with the people you love. And I don't need to put that on everybody, but that for me is really what it is. And then also, I am a man of faith. I identify as a disciple of Jesus. And for me, if I can spend time, which I do, is with at least once a week or a couple times a week with other believers and other friends of mine, and we can help other people and give back in some meaningful way. It doesn't have to be monetarily. It could just be time, talent, treasure, right? You have three things you're given. That is where I get the most enjoyment and fulfillment out of life. So if I can do that, if I could be with my family and just not have any other worries and stress, that's financial freedom for me.
That's awesome. And I like making that delineation for people when I talk to them because, like I said, we do get this idea that to be financially free, you have to have all of this money and all of these fancy doodads and all of that. And then when you boil it down for most people, that's not what it is. And when you make them realize that, hey, if I can just take some time off of my business, be there with my family, travel a little bit, have impact, give back to my community, that's financial freedom. People suddenly realize, oh, it's not that far away as I think. I don't have to have $100 million to be financially free. And I think that's just so important for so many people.
That's a good point too, because I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how your audience feels about it, but I did a Tony Robbins event a number of years ago. And one of the exercises was calculate how much you need to be financially free.
Yeah.
And I think the number at the time that I came up with was somewhere in the range of like 20 to 30 million. And now I'm looking at that like I need $4 with the what I just said to be financially free versus how much that would really cost. Is you don't need a whole lot. You just need what's important to you. And for me, those things don't cost any money, which is awesome. If for you they cost money, that's a different story. But it's never as much as you think. And I remember it from that exercise. There were people like, I need $6 billion. I'm like, do you know how many people on earth have $6 billion? Like, you are probably not going to be one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I love that exercise, and that's something that I walk my people through almost immediately when we start because it is so crucial. Because when you have a pie in the sky number like that, like I need $6 billion or 30 or $40 million, and you're like, okay, I've got $50 in my bank account or whatever.
Yeah.
It seems so far away that you wall off and you don't even start and you have no idea how you're going to go about it. But then when you're like, oh, if I can just make X amount every year and put away X percent and grow by this 4, 5, 10% a year, whatever, that I can get there and it can be really easy and it's not going to take me the rest of my life. People get excited and they get energized and then they start working towards it.
That's awesome. And you could tell you're an expert. You're qualified to walk people through that exercise, which was probably not the case in my scenario.
Yeah, when I did it for myself, I've got two answers to that. And the way that I do it with people is I'm like, look, let's find out what the minimum viable financial freedom is for you. And then let's make another plan where, yeah, this is your absolute dream lifestyle and you want to buy a $10 million home and wherever. Cool, we'll put that together too. So at least you know
Yeah.
what it is. But at the same time, work towards the first step.
Yeah.
And then if things explode from there and you want to go buy the $10 million house, awesome.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's true.
Okay, very cool. So just a couple more things before we wrap up here. Do you have a written financial plan that you follow? And if so, what is it like? Or if you don't, when money comes into the business, how do you decide where to allocate it?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you feel about profit first?
I feel great about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's how I was able to grow my last business. That's the methodology we follow. And what I like about it is it's finances for dummies like me. My accountant hates it because she has to reconcile 10 bank accounts, but
Uh-huh.
sorry, she said yes to working with me, and I warned her. But no, that to me is the best way because we can manage a number of things by just looking visually at the numbers that are in the accounts, which for simple people like myself is very important because I am not looking at accounting spreadsheets. So I love that. It served me so well. We have savings accounts for future purchases in that business. We had savings accounts for buying assets because that was a physical business. So it was all very easy to manage and it was predictable, which is amazing. So my whole financial plan, like I just know, okay, if I hit these targets, like I'll have this piece of equipment in 75 days. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. I like the way you break that down. Okay, now in the last few days, we've had gold hit all-time highs, Bitcoin hit all-time highs. The prices of single-family homes in America are through the roof. Are you currently investing? And if so, what are you investing in?
I am investing. I have a split strategy, if you will. I own a home. I don't count that as investing though, but it is an asset. It counts as an asset. I have a lot of money in two places, and maybe I'm open to feedback. You can smack me through the screen. That's totally fine. But this is what I do. So I have a lot of money in cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin. Actually, I don't have any Bitcoin, but a lot of cryptocurrency. And I do my research there. So I know I'm not an expert, but I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. And then I also have a lot of money in cash value life insurance because I know it to be the most secure form of storing your money, and we use it as a bank account for investing in other things. So we've used it to buy houses, to rehab houses, and then pay ourselves back. And it's a really secure form to still earn interest like you would in an index fund or something like that, or a 401k. I actually specifically stay away from those forms, the Roth, the 401ks, because someone else owns your money, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to smack you through the screen. As far as my partner and
Thank you.
I, that's exactly where we're at with our stuff too, for the most part. Like you said, take the sure thing with the life insurance and build that money, be able to take out, give yourself a loan if you want, keep growing that for your future, have the death benefit in case anything should happen for you and your family. And then for me, the narrative around crypto is just too strong to not have some kind of exposure. And of course, if you don't know what you're doing, maybe take the time to learn. If you don't want to take the time to learn, do the stuff, the safe stuff, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like these things probably in this bull market that we're in, 2x, 3x, maybe 10x, like a fairly easy return as long as you're just not boneheaded about it. And then I do always like to tell people to save a little bit and put it on something out there. I've got some money in some low market cap meme coins, not because I think it's necessarily a great financial decision, but if I can take a couple $100, $1,000 here and there and put it into something and it has a chance that I'll get 100x return, to me, it's worth it because only invest what you can afford to lose, and I can afford to lose it. But if it makes me a ton of money, it gets you there so much faster.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say this actually about the last bull cycle. I know this is not a crypto podcast, but it's been a really good tool for me. The last bull cycle, I had money on those stupid meme coins. I was able to pull some of that out and start and fund another business.
Yeah.
So it's not a joke. It's if you do it right and you do your research, whatever you invest in, it's a tool to leverage your financial growth. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me right now too, like the worst thing you can do is have no exposure and just be holding cash because
Yeah.
the value of that dollar is getting closer to zero every day.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. It's been great having you on. I've really appreciated it. So before I let you go, for anybody, Brandon, who wants to find out more about what it is y'all do at What If, where can they go for that?
Yeah, so the one thing I would say is if anything I said about business or growing a business, anything I said about harmonious and the architecture, if you were ever like, huh, that's interesting or that's different, I want you to do one thing. Don't follow me on social media. It'll be a complete waste of your time. Just go find out what the status of your business is. It's our website, whatif.com. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes or all over this episode. If you go there, you'll be able to take our 8-minute instant clarity assessment. It's our business diagnostic. It'll tell you where your business is in these 10 different disciplines, and it'll also paint the roadmap of how to fix it, how to plug the holes in the bucket. So we give you two things for free that are the two most important things in business: clarity and confidence. You have the clarity to know where your business is, confidence to take the next step because it'll spell it out for you. And if you want the third C, if you want the community, that's what we can provide for you at What If. But the other two are 100% free, and I would encourage you to go there first. I can't spell, but you don't need to know how to spell to grow a business. So just go take that assessment.
Is it because you can't spell that What If got a D instead of a T?
That was my business partner. Actually, he created it, and it's one of those things. He's much smarter than he lets himself on to be. But what if is the question that all great things come from. What if we could do that? But he said, being the lawyer that he is, you can't trademark that because that's a common phrase. But you know what you can do? Because we're both from New Jersey. I've since moved, but he's like, how do we say it in Jersey? What if you can trademark that? So he's very smart.
Very cool. Love it. And then one last thing, any parting advice or just some words of encouragement for entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, listen to smart people like Chris. That's the one thing that got me through building my last company, was surrounding myself with, and we knocked them before, the coaches and consultants, the one size fits all, but make sure you have a team of people around you. I never had less than 3 people who were either consulting, mentoring, or helping me grow that business. And I always had my earbuds in listening to podcasts. So the fact that you're here listening to this, A plus, step in the right direction. Make sure you have good positive voices in your ears, in your head, consulting you on how to get to that next level in business.
Yeah, absolutely. So crucial. I know when I started my first business, that's probably the biggest piece I was missing. I didn't have mentors. I wasn't talking to other entrepreneurs. I was just on an island all by myself, and it's hard to learn that way.
That's the third C, right? Community. We got to have that community.
Absolutely. Okay, Brandon, it's been an absolute joy having you on. Thank you so much. For everybody else who has been listening, if it's been a joy for you too, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. That way we'll keep you up to date when we've got new episodes out. And if you can give us one of those 5-star reviews, we really love it. It helps us to get the word out to more entrepreneurs. Brandon, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody else, we will see you next time.
If you've listened this far, chances are you're an entrepreneur looking to become more financially literate and create financial freedom for yourself from your business.
The Pay Yourself First podcast
Is definitely here to help with that. My goal is to continue to share what I've learned about using your business as the tool to create financial freedom. But let's face it, it would take me years to share with you everything you need to know via these episodes. Creating financial freedom is something that most people never even consider, let alone make a plan for or take action towards. It's something almost no one was taught anything about. Doing it as an entrepreneur is even more challenging, especially without support. So if you're ready to get clear on what financial freedom looks like for you, come up with an action plan, and get the support systems and accountability you need, I invite you to consider the Abundantly Infinite Entrepreneur. I created the program to help entrepreneurs just like you get a handle on their personal and business finances and start building confidently towards financial freedom. And it's how you can discover ways to take 10 years off your retirement, add an extra 5 or 6 figures to your portfolio, and finally get clear on what numbers you should be tracking in your business and why. Together, we'll gain clarity around your financial goals and what being financially free would actually look like for you. Then we'll put together a customized game plan to get you there and the accountability to see you through. And by the way, you're also going to get all the spreadsheets you need to run your numbers, lifetime access to the materials, including any updates, and entry into our members-only community. In addition to all the knowledge, coaching, community, and systems that you need to create financial freedom from your business, you'll also receive a free financial assessment, a retirement planning session, and guided meditation aimed at helping you embody the feeling of true financial freedom. So yeah, you can just listen to the free content on these podcasts to help you move towards becoming a financially free entrepreneur. And sure, you'll likely see some results, or you can make the decision to commit to learning, implementing, and embodying what you need to know to create the financially free life you dreamed of when you started your business journey. Click the link in the show notes to answer a quick questionnaire, and you'll be on your way to joining the Abundantly Infinite Entrepreneur.